Allow me to reintroduce myself.
You are now tuning in to the Snap Call Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Snap Call Podcast. I'm Xavier.
I'm Ice.
Hector.
And welcome to our first episode since the WSOP. We took a little bit of a break of sorts with just travel. We've all been doing some traveling outside of the WSOP and just life, and we've finally been able to kind of come together and just continue talking about the WSOP and some stories and all of this. So happy to be back, and I don't know about you guys, but I kind of wish I was out in Vegas still.
Yeah, especially with the main event starting soon. Definitely.
Yeah, man. It was nice. It was nice to take a break, but it's also like FOMO seeing all the other events happening while you're home.
Yeah, no, it's especially with the WSOP main event, like I said, starting this week. Like coming back here, like and then seeing updates, it just reminds me how many tournaments are taking place. It's just like, oh, one day you see Negreanu at a final table of like a stud, and then 2 days later he's at a final table of like a deuce to seven. It's just like the constant grind that these guys are going through, and we were doing it too, obviously at a much smaller sample size. So definitely wish we were out there, but we did have some wins while we were out there. So I want to kind of go around the table here and chat about some wins that we each experienced, maybe some lows as well. So let's go there. A high and a low of your trip, and then maybe something you could have done differently. So Hector, I think you had maybe the biggest win because you were able to put a little stamp on your WSOP passport. So tell us about your your week in the WSOP this summer, and what was your win?
Yeah. All right. So so we flew out to Vegas, like at 4:30 in the morning that we had to get to the airport. 6-hour flight, sit there, land. As soon as we register, don't even check in. Register, sitting down, Vegas time, 11 a.m. to the $800 deep stack.
Late Reggie.
No limit hold'em. And and then grinded a 12-hour day to min cash. So it was my first cash ever. My first WSOP event since the shootout in 2017. So it was crazy. I mean, it was a long grind, especially after like level 4 that I was under 10 blinds, under 10 big blinds for like 6 hours straight. I think I got as low as like 5 big blinds, but they were half hour levels. So every time I doubled up, I got like 12 big blinds, and then I just grinded it back down, where I needed another double up. And luckily, I just found spots where I was able to capitalize. A couple small blinds trying to raise me, and we end up going all in, and I end up having them dominated, or I suck out or something like that. So there was definitely a lot of luck involved. I stood gritty. I was like, I'm not gonna just donk it away. We're gonna make it to day 2. We're gonna take it down. At no point did I think I was gonna be out of the tournament. I just knew I was gonna fight the whole way. And luck was on my side, and I was able to cash. So it was really good experience, man.
So first WSOP cash, first live cash,
Yep.
right? And this is all in day 1 of the trip, right? Like, and you got to play with a pro on your right hand side for a couple hours.
I mean, of course we see everybody. I saw Boski, 2 rows down, but I was all day in Paris, and then the last 4 levels they moved me over to Horseshoe, and they moved all of us over to Horseshoe, and there I just went on a heater. I went from like 12 big blinds of like 40K, and then by the end of the next break I had like 450K, something like that. It was just ridiculous how things were just going my way. And and then eventually Calvin Anderson, Mr. 5 Bracelets, sat to my right, and as soon as he sat down, he just shoved all in. And I guess some guy, I don't know if they were friends or whatever, but he called him Ace 10 versus Calvin's Jack 4. And I was like, dude, like I don't know, maybe he he late reg, like max late reg or whatever. But yeah, dude was just he made a presence. It was like, so he ended up losing it, and but he was still in it. And yeah, eventually he ended up busting me. But real cool guy, we were chopping it up. I had Jonathan Shorman to my left, who has like who just spinal tabled a couple days before that too. So it was a tough spot that I was in, but I held my own, and I'm proud of it. I lost Ace King under the gun, and Calvin called me with pocket fives, and it just didn't get there.
Gotcha. Yeah, me and Ice,
So,
once you busted, we're trying to figure out what else to do, and we're like, hey, we got a whip. Let's get in a whip. Let's get some tacos, and like
mhm.
part of us wanted to go back and support, but then you were just staying alive. So we're like, let's keep the constant, right? So we're like bouncing around
Yeah.
Resorts World, Westgate, and we're like, should we go back? And then next thing you know, you're like, I've got 450K, and we're like, no, we're not going back. And then it wasn't
Yeah.
until like I think Ice looked and maybe we were like less than 200 away from cashing where we were
Mhm.
like, all right, we got to be there for like the typical congrats you're in the money announcement. So
Yeah.
we're like we got to be there for that. So we ended up going back, got to see that moment for you, which is really cool. You always
Yeah.
hear about these stories about people like winning a tournament going down to one big. I think Cord Garcia won the first Colossus when he was down to one big. Like, and that time was the biggest tournament in the world. So when you were like, I was down to five bigs, I was down to a handful of bigs,
Yeah.
and you found double ups, that's just kind of what these great stories come from. So we were convinced like he's gonna make a deep run. So
Yeah.
congrats on the deep run because that was really cool to see for you because I know that
Yeah.
helps the confidence that you were probably
Yeah.
seeking in
Yeah.
live tournaments.
It was my high and low, which is thankfully, not that low of a low. That, once I finally busted, I was like, what am I doing here? I know. Like I was gonna take it down. Like that was, like it was no part of me that thought that that would happen. Especially day one. I was like, man, I have 450K. There's 3 levels left. Like day two's in the bag.
Yeah.
But things happen. Queens got cracked. And then Ace King, I got 3-bet. I had to let go. And then the Ace King. And it was all like 3 hands right after the break, like right there. And that
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever felt this, but like once you find yourself running deep, like, and this is how I found this shootout when it was like three-handed. Like
Hmm.
I remember going to the bathroom and I was like in a state of like euphoria. Like I was legit like
Yeah.
I was like I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna win this table,
Mhm.
especially because I was chip lead right
Yeah.
after I knocked the this freaking kid out aces to kings, and I was just like I'm gonna win. Like I was literally almost shaking. That's how confident I was.
Yeah.
Which is obviously what you want in those types of situations. You want to stay like even keeled, but you need to roll with that confidence as well. And you know, I remember
Yeah.
talking to you on one of your breaks, and you're confident. And I was like, this is the Hector we need because we've always had talks about your demeanor at a
Yeah. Yeah.
table, and
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
you
It's been
you
a
you were
while
feeling
since I
good.
felt that I felt that confident. But it was I was all days in preparation. I'm like, if I'm going serious, and we're gonna like this is what we're gonna do. And yeah, when you guys came for dinner break and you're like, what do you want to do? I was like, we need to walk. I have so much nervous energy, like all this, like I need to walk. I'm gonna walk this entire break,
Yeah, and we got
and that was great for me. Like I
s-
needed that.
we got some in and out. Saw Faraz Jocko was getting some in and out as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Was he in the same tournament with you, or was he on a break for a different tournament?
I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember
He
that.
probably was in the same tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's my guess, but I don't. I
Mhm.
follow him. I feel like I didn't see any updates from that because if he was on that break, he had to be close to cash. But
Yeah.
Faraj Jaka has so many deep runs. He's such a good
Yeah. I
player.
mean, as long as it went, and it was what I was 527 out of 4400. So it's a long grind.
Yeah,
There was still a long way to go, even though yes, it was very deep, and I am very proud of myself. But yeah, there was a lot of poker to be played.
yeah, no, absolutely,
So
absolutely. Well, congrats on the deep run, man. That was certainly the high of highs, I think, among the three of us. I'll go
Hmm.
last. Ice, what was some highs for you for this Vegas trip that you can you consider a W?
Honestly, the whole trip in general, I feel like it was just a good trip overall. Just got to be thankful for having the opportunity to go and just play cards. But obviously, I didn't do too well in the tournaments. There was a few tournaments, some hands I played bad, and then overall just not winning flips. I played the PLO, the 600 mix. It was a great event. I was doing pretty good. Made a call with Ace King, Queen Jack, double suited. Guy had aces, I think 7-6 or something like that. Um, so kind of got counterfeit on the river. So that brought me down pretty good. And then after that, it was hard to recuperate. But played with Ben Yu, so I think that was a high too. Played with a bracelet winner.
That's your
For
guy.
major, yeah, for a couple of hours too at the table. Just seeing how these pros play, honestly, like it's a low buy-in for them, so they just, every pot they pot in it, every hand they pot in it. No limit, they three betting, four betting consistently. I eliminated Texas Mike, which was pretty cool because he potted us right off the bat, right? And I looked at it and I saw him. I was like, oh snap! So that's why I called. If it was anybody else, I probably would have folded. But I know he's there. He's playing these $1 million games, so $600 for him is nothing. Um, so I eliminated him. That was kind of a high there too. Um, right off the rip, I think the second day on Sunday, I hit a decent parlay to get the week going, so that helped out a lot. So I started firing more bullets into tournaments. That was a high as well. MGM cash game was pretty good. And MGM cash game was the opposite of tournaments. I won a big hand with jacks against ace king, and the jacks held. So, I can't get my aces to hold against tens in tournaments, but I can get jacks against ace king in the cash game for 1,200. So that's how my WSOP cash compared to tournaments went. Played a daily deep stack. It was the slumps. Not a big fan of it. Obviously, aces got cracked there. Just in general, we see a lot of nastiness. Just people in hands they shouldn't be in. Pen-handed, super tight. Dealers are horrible. The majority of them. Some of them are good. But overall, it was a good trip. My lows obviously not cashing, especially in the 600 when I had a decent amount of chips. I look back, I probably could have folded that. Um, but it's kind of hard. It's like PLO. Do you really fold that? Like, are we here to mint cash or are we here to? So it's just like that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it was still too early to fold that hand because I had them covered too. So it was just like I wasn't eliminated, but it was for like 70% of my chip stack. So, um, and I figured I was running into the aces, but at the same time I had an ace. So it was just like, I had one of the outs, and then I was double suited as well too. So
Yeah.
that's all. That and then the Colossus, obviously, Colossus was just a grind, just hand dead, and then not hitting anything on the flop, and then the blinds got up, so I had to make a move. And 800 just right off the bat was down. Right off the bat was down. I think I got down to like 7K, and then got back up to starting stack, and then just after that was just like as soon as Xavier got eliminated, I was right there behind him, and it
Yeah,
was just like I was more frustrated because I was like, man, I couldn't get anything going. So,
yeah,
but overall, it was a great trip.
yeah. Yeah, no, that was that was like, I felt like, I'll talk about my hand in a second here, but I felt like I busted. Well, I don't even remember what level we busted. Maybe four or five, maybe six or seven. I don't know. All I know is it was early, and I was thinking like, do I do I go play in late reg like the daily? Do I go play some cash? And then when you busted 10, not even 5 minutes after me, I was like, all right, that makes my decision easier because now I'm not feeling like I'm on tilt right after my first tournament of the series, and now we can go get some food. But yeah, overall, I mean, highs for me. I made day two of the MGM like 100K guarantee grand stack, I think it was called. All these gimmicky tournaments. Not a big tournament whatsoever. A couple $100 buy. What was it? $400 buy-in.
400.
Made a day two. Added to the Hendon mob. Practically min cashed it. But found myself in some tough spots on the bubble. But day two was important for me because day two meant I was gonna cash, and that was one of my goals for this series was to just add to the hand and mob and put another cash under my belt and a day two.
I
So
mean, that wasn't easy. That was a grind. I mean, you guys were hand for hand for I don't know how long.
yeah, we were hand for hand. I want to say it was probably 5 or 6 hands. And then two guys were
Yeah,
all in. So yeah, it was, and the if it went hand
yeah,
for hand one more, I would have been in the big blind, and the ante, and yeah, would
yeah,
have been a big portion of my chips because I now get to come into day two with 11 bigs versus like seven,
yeah.
So it
But
was a
even before that, like I busted 4 away from the money, and I busted like over an hour before you.
yeah. So
You
yeah,
know
so
what I
that
mean?
goes to show
So
how long that lasted.
that long a time, and you're not even playing the full table.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And
And you're low and blind, so like that
yeah.
that took work,
And when you
but you
think
got
about
it
it,
done.
a $400 tournament, right? Like we're not making $10,000 decisions here. Like so,
Yeah.
a little bit of a like frustration I definitely was starting to feel, but it was still like play your game, get this cash, and then look for a
Yeah.
double up the next day. So
Hmm.
May day two, I think that was the night we went to, I don't know if we went to Palace Station that night or whatever, get some of the oyster bar, but remember we ate good and then we ended up going to day two the next day, was prepped. I woke up super early because I was on adrenaline. Day two was uneventful. I think maybe seventh or eighth hand in, I wake up to pocket sevens. I did find a double up, so that was great. But what didn't mean much because was still under 20 bigs. Woke up to pocket sevens, ran it into kings, and yeah, that was all she wrote. So, but for me, that was a W because I was able to accomplish what I went for, which was to have a cash, make a decent run, and regardless of the tournament size. Um, Outside of that, tournaments didn't go too well. In the $800, I ran pocket queens into pocket kings pre-flop. I posted a video on that. Um, that's always tough. It's was one of those situations though. It's like, can I get away from it pre-flop? Um, I three bet, he four bet me all in. It's can I get away with it? Maybe not in this tournament. I definitely felt like I was a better player. If I had any sort of intel on this guy, he recently sat down, maybe, but I don't think I'm folding queens there. Not in an $800 tournament when I'm trying to accumulate chips.
I want
So
to say I saw a couple 4 bets that were like 7-5, ace 4.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think I'm getting away either.
Yeah, if this guy
Yeah,
was
'cause-
someone that I was watching and I was like, he's capable of four betting me here with like, potentially air, or or if I really do feel like he has it and I haven't seen him do it yet, then I could maybe get away.
Mhm.
I did think about it, but I was like, if you have kings or aces, man, you're ahead, and he did. So, um, but yeah,
yeah, because
that's
in that situation, it's hard. Like you said, it's the same way he can play jacks or ace king, and then it's just like you're ahead against jacks. You got jacks dominated, then you're flipping against ace king. So it's just like, um, so that's tough. I don't think I could have got away from it either, especially in
Yeah,
the earlier levels. It's like, no, it's time to double up. So
yeah.
yeah.
If I have like, you know, maybe like something like tens or jacks. But even then, jacks, I'm probably not folding. Let's be real.
Yeah.
That's kind of
No.
a good spot there. I think I had maybe about 25 bigs or so. It wasn't too out of line.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't like I
Yeah.
was putting 60 bigs in that spot. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all day.
but yeah, outside of that, I played the deep stacks, and as I said, I will definitely consider passing on the deep stacks in the future. For those that don't know, they put the deep stacks in the horseshoe ballrooms that are like by the poker room. That's always there, the Hall of Fame poker room. But it's like the slums. You go from like 30-foot ceilings in Paris to going to 12-foot ceilings
Oh,
in the
yeah.
horseshoe, no AC,
No
10-handed.
leg room.
Like it felt like it was
Yeah.
12-handed. It was bad. In my first experience, so any other time we've gone to Vegas and played WSOP events, this is my first deep stack. I've never played a deep stack because I thankfully was deep into shootout, or I was deep into 888. So this is my first deep
Yeah.
stack experience. It was horrendous.
I did one in Rio, and it wasn't like that because it was in the same room
Yeah,
as they
because it
were
was
doing
in,
everything
I think it was in
else.
the Amazon room, which was,
Yeah,
I mean,
it was not like that. It
uh,
was just a turbo, but you didn't feel uncomfortable anyway.
yeah, no
No, this was
I was
ambiance.
like, there was no space in between the tables
Yeah,
yeah,
to
this was
pull
like
your seat out.
yeah, it was super crowded and like when at the WSOP like in the bracelet events, all the people leave, right? The players leave. So
Yeah.
like in the beginning, the players were staying around the chips, and I was like keeping an eye on my chips like that because I had just doubled up on one of the deep stacks. So I was just like, I just don't like it. Like I was like kind of like kept looking, and then they started kicking people out. But it's like tables are so tight. You're playing footsies with the guy next to you. He keeps hitting your feet, and it's just like, hey, can you move down? Like, there's nobody in seat 3. Can you move down? And it's just like the guy's like, I'm touching the dealer, and it's just like, I didn't like it. 10-handed, I would
no,
not play 10-handed. Like,
no.
just
If
uncomfortable. Like, you're like this, like, and then you're trying to like hide your cards because it's like people behind you, like people next to you feel like on top of you. Like, no, I'm not
if
gonna play that.
if I knew it was 10-handed, I probably wouldn't have played it. Especially walking into the room, I probably wouldn't have
Yeah.
played. Um, Obviously, like the caliber of player was very obvious the moment you sit down. My second hand, I have Ace King. I lose to Ace 10 all in pre. Um, I just three bet and this guy shoves and I'm like, this is how it's gonna go down in the second hand of this tournament. I barely had him covered, so I'm like, all right, I'm practically
Yeah.
gonna double. No. And then I think the second hand, I think had ace 10 and I lost like ace 3 or something. So, or the third hand. So I lasted a total of 3 hands. It was horrendous. I was just like, I got it in. We were not even flipping. I have these people dominated. I got
Yeah.
up. I felt so dumb because I'm like, I'm in this fucking slums. Get me out of this place. I'm like, I'm going to go play cash or something. But that was that.
Dude, when I had the aces, um,
Oh my God. I see.
like
I just
I
got his aces cracked. I saw it.
like a guy raised, right? So I re-raise on top, and then he jams right all in. I play literally like 2 hands in like the first 4 levels, like when the first break was, right? So like I snap call, I flipped all my ACS pocket tens, right? And then a 10 on the flop. And Xavier's like right next to me at the table next to me, and I'm like a little whiny little bitch, like, yo, Xavier, look at this. My ace just
He's
got
like, I
cracked.
look over. He's like
Like,
this.
like literally, like I was
Because
like,
we were going on a
of course,
break.
this is yeah. I was just like,
Oh, I
and it
just
was funny because
remember.
I was like, let me leave like 30 seconds early to go to the bathroom if everybody else goes, right? But the dealer was like, so let me see one, and I get aces and they get cracked. I was like, of course.
I just
But I was
remember
like,
seeing the aces get cracked, and then I'm like, I felt bad because I was like, I gotta call Josie, like I gotta call her. So then
Yeah.
as soon as she picks up, I was like, I just saw aces get cracked, man. That's the first thing I told her. Yeah, that was bad. But yeah, that's the horseshoe, and that is on the deep stack in a nutshell. It is the best value for any tournament in the city for sure, but it does make me think, hey, you're gonna get 200K in the prize pool.
A lot of
But you can be
variance.
uncomfortable, or you can go find like a 20 or 50K guarantee, play just as soft of a field, and be comfortable. And I think that's when I realized I might value being more comfortable than anything, because that was brutal. It was
Yeah.
just brutal.
So you put the MGM 100K as like a better caliber player or the same caliber player as the deep stack?
I would say I didn't last long enough to know in the deep stack, but based on
Gotcha.
what I saw, I would say that you're probably having a better caliber player at the MGM tournament. Because a
Okay.
lot of these guys that are coming, that's all they're gonna do is the deep stacks, and that doesn't mean anything outside of like their level of play or maybe their bank rolls and stuff. But like a lot of these guys are gonna come and say, "This is my first WSOP tournament ever," and that's all they're gonna play. While the MGM Grand Tournament, like there was a lot of really good players there. Like we were looking at people's Hendon mobs. My last day, I had two people over, 6 figures. I think one guy had over 400,000. We saw Baloo out there, who's a poker player out of Toronto that made the day two as well. So, these guys like, there's they're not only going for bracelet events, right? Like look at Charlie. Charlie chopped up a tournament, I think yesterday at the MGM. So, these guys are out there finding value. So, and they're not typically going to find value in the daily deep stacks just because of how long of a grind it is. It's not going to always be worth their time. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of the daily deep stack, the 800, I did another daily deep stack. Maybe lasted an hour. I think I ran ace jack and like ace king or something. Nothing eventful. Just got low. And then yeah, cash games were brutal. Um, outside of the very last cash session of the trip, which we were playing at the Caesars. Super soft game. That was crazy. But outside of that, not too eventful. Just I got the cash that I wanted, and it's always just nice to be out in Vegas during that time of the year. That's a W in itself. So
Yeah. Oh, I did forget one thing. One of the highs were playing in the new Venetian poker room as well too. So I played what was it? What's it called? The 3-5? Because they don't have 2-5, right? Is it 3-5 or something like that?
3-5. Yep, yeah, 3-5.
Yeah, it's a 3-5. So it was nice checking out that room. Really good, really nice room. And then obviously I won a little bit there, so that always helps as well too.
I mean, the hot chocolate was good, but I didn't like getting coffee spilled on me by this old guy
Yeah, that
on my
was
right. That he sat
yeah,
down,
that was
and then
tough.
I ended up losing my my stack anyway.
Yeah.
I think that was like I think I played 2 cash sessions. I was so yeah, that was probably my biggest loss there. But it is a night room.
No, the room is beautiful.
Yeah, room is
It's
dope.
between the streaming room in the back, just the layout of the room, the room just
Seeing
looks
JRB
nice.
play,
JRB
drink some
playing
wine,
for
eat dinner.
he's playing for heaps back there. The only
Yeah,
thing is I feel like they gotta have a better system with because the room gets so busy, right? The brush was overwhelmed, and then the cashier was backed up. Which is gonna happen in any busy poker room. But that's my only kind of But love amenities. The fountain station as well as the coffee hot chocolate station was peak. And just a beautiful room. That room always has action. I started out playing 3-5 with ice. Just I didn't have patience and I wasn't catching anything, and I really wanted to play some PLO, so played PLO. I think I made the $100 that I lost at the 3-5 table back in PLO, and it was just a really fun little table. So
yeah.
yeah, but that was a great room. I would say that is probably my favorite room in Vegas now. I like it more than Bellagio, definitely more than Caesars. The win
More
is
than the
really
win.
nice. But
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just something about a brand new room packed with action. Like you don't have to worry about not having a good table. Like it was
yeah.
nice. So but let's switch up gears here. So we kind of talked about some highs from our Vegas trip. Just kind of run down through just random WSOP stuff, right? So the biggest thing that came out for the WSOP this year was the WSOP app, which we heard tons and saw tons of complaining prior to us going out there, and then we finally made it out there. Initial thoughts on the app for the week that we were there. What were your thoughts? And do you see it as a success for this year and for future years?
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, there's a lot of pros to it. Like the it was very easy getting set up. Like I know you have to have that initial setup where you're talking to them to link everything, and then that's it. You're off to the races. When we went, there was no line. I mean, maybe 3 people in front of me. It wasn't like the first day where you saw that super long line on social media. But once you do that, it was like super easy to register. You get your table, you sit down. I was updating my chip count, but I noticed every break,
The
I guess
dealers,
the
yeah.
dealers would update it, and it was always incorrect. Like it was always incorrect. But they always gave me more, so I'll take it. I guess put me on the. I think at one point I had like top 30 stacks, and I'm like, yeah,
Damn.
I definitely have like 60K less than that, but whatever. It's nice to take a screenshot, but like, yo, number 29. Um,
I remember that
yeah.
$800 tournament. Someone gave themselves like 999 million just to do it. I remember looking
Yeah,
up at like
right.
level 3 and I was like, the fuck? I was like, this is gonna be rough. But yeah, no,
The only
clearly
thing I
someone made
don't
a
get is
mistake.
how like almost everyone has like their real name, and then some people have like some weird, like a screen name, like if it's online. And I'm like, how do they do that? Or maybe I didn't. But I was like, I want your real name, bro. Like I don't want these
Yeah, yeah.
nomenclatures there.
You have
So
a
there's
nickname.
that.
You have a nickname in the app, and you can
Yeah.
turn it on and off.
Okay, I
It's
didn't
it
look at
just
it
you go
then.
to your
So
account.
that's probably that.
Yeah.
But the biggest con that I would say was withdrawal. So you get paid, you cash, you go to the box, and you can say, which is a pro, like, hey, give me half in cash, give me the other half back onto the app, so I could buy, use it to buy more tournaments or whatever. And but what they don't have an option for is to like give it back to you the same way you gave it. So the original source, so I used like my debit card, and they couldn't just put it back on my debit card. So it
Mm,
was either cash or on the app to play for more tournaments. So I did half and half, and then whatever I didn't use by the end of the trip, I just got it back in cash, which is okay. It is okay, but I'd rather have that feature. I'd rather like, hey, put it back on my card if I know I have that money back.
yeah.
But that would probably be my only con. But yeah, it's here to stay. Um, Next year you'll probably see like staking and and horse racing and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure it will definitely evolve. Ice, what did you think about the app since you had a chance to use it for a couple more tournaments than we did, and as far as like all the features and stuff, what were your thoughts?
So initially, before I got there, just going on Twitter or X, whatever, and just listen to people complaining and people lying about the chip stack. So I was just like, let's see how really good this app is. And then also, as far as like the deposits and like Hector said, like you put your card, you linked it and stuff like that. But what happens like if your bank declines it because it's like WSOP is considered poker. A lot of banks, as soon as they see that, they decline it automatically. So I was like, this might not work out too good. And then when I got there, I was like, okay, you started working around with the app, and it was just like, okay, let me see where this guy's at. And then you would look and you would find like this pro at this table playing this event. You're like, okay.
yeah,
Then you would look and you'd be like, oh, shoot, this guy. And I was also like skeptical because like usually you can see the win on the WSOP website. You see like, hey, boom, they have a picture of the bracelet, and you couldn't do that no more. Everything was on the app. But as soon as I found out how to work it, I loved it because then you could update your own chips. So every time I wanted a pot, I would update it. Then I had the opposite effect that a dealer had on you. Like they were always like, say I had like 79K, right? I had just like 75K just in like yellow chips and thousand chips, right? And she put like 60, and I was like, how you get 60 if I got? You can see I got more chips, like the dealer. So I just changed it right away. But overall, it was great. Like for example, like I eliminated Texas Mike, right? And he literally like went back into the tournament, like back into the app, like registered the tournament, and literally walked 3 tables down and sat down instead of having to go to the cage. So that's definitely a plus. They probably got so many more entries like that. Um, and then going back to like your withdrawal, I think one of the reasons they don't do it, I feel like, is they don't want to hold the player's money. Because when you withdraw it
yeah,
back to the account, it takes like 2 or 3 days. I'm pretty sure they were just like, let's avoid that because then if it's on hold, these players can't register. So it's better
yeah,
just to have it there. So that's why I think they did it. Not necessarily like they don't care what time you get the money. They just don't want the money held up because then that can cause somebody not to get into a tournament.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but I loved it. I loved it. You can just register, boom, and see what CD you're on. Like, hey, Hector's this, boom, Hector, update your chips that you
yeah,
can update it. Like, we can keep track
yeah.
of
I'm sure you
people.
guys were following me
Yeah,
on the app
yeah,
that
yeah,
it
day.
was.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I would just like I think everyone at first I was skeptical. I think I was more worried. I mean, I told you guys I was having major anxiety as far as like needing to get a new card, verify, buy in, and thankfully when I went to verify my account at the cage, I was able to buy in at that spot too. So that helped save a lot of time. I think us not being out there the very first week helped as well because we didn't have to worry about all of that. And obviously moving forward, they're gonna have a much better system in years. But all the tournaments I bought in with cash, so I didn't necessarily wasn't able to utilize the feature of just buying in from the phone, but I could definitely see how that is awesome, right? You could wake up, have breakfast, see what tournament you want to play, and never have to go through a line. That's the goal for next
Mhm.
year, right? Like load up enough where I have money on the account and I never have to talk to a person and I could just go
Yeah,
sit down. So
yeah,
I started using it like a like almost like Twitter at one point when Ice was out there because I was like, oh, you can utilize the stories, and provide updates. So I started like doing little statuses. I post like pics from like old tournaments, like, oh, manifesting a stack like this. So And people were responding and liking. So that like community piece was kind of cool. I'm sure that will definitely grow. But overall, I could definitely see the value. The way I look at it is, who is probably the main driver of this, right? Probably Negreanu, right? Someone that has large amounts of money. You see him always going up to those kiosks before. He's like, I just want to do it from my phone. I never want to go anywhere. So it probably took someone with really, really high level buy-ins to make this happen. But even the small guys like us benefited from it at the
Yeah,
end of the day. So looking
yeah,
forward
definitely in the
to
future.
seeing it evolve.
There are
Well, it
definitely a
was.
couple old guys that were like, I don't have my phone. Can you look it up for me?
And it's interesting because we had an episode where we talked about what can GG bring to the World Series of Poker,
That's a
and
big
one of them
one.
was it was the app, which was
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw so like in each section of the ballrooms, it's like, oh, this is the gold, and then there's a little map of the number of the tables in the gold
Yeah.
section. I don't know if it was an $800 tournament or what tournament it was, but there was a tournament that was like hand for hand, and one guy got like so high on the break that he couldn't find his table. So like you just saw everyone standing up at their table, and you're like, what table you at? Over here. And you just see this guy who's high as hell trying to find his table. This guy was absolutely blasted.
Biggest, biggest.
This guy. I was dying when I saw it. I'm like, can you
Uh,
that's a
yeah,
story right there.
yeah,
But
man. Well, Vegas, you gotta run down who we saw. All right, so we saw Sethi Poker as soon as we landed.
yep.
All right, we got to see Renee from Side Bet. And then what? We saw Boski, we saw
I saw
Negranu,
my
Ben
boy.
Yu.
I saw my boy,
Uh,
Rampage. I saw my boy out there.
Rampage.
oh yeah,
I
you
saw my
saw
boy out there.
Rampage.
Yeah.
Calvin Anderson. I always talk how I kind of swerved him a little bit.
Yo,
He
real.
sat on my right, and I said what's up to him and stuff like hi, and then you came up, and I was like, you got a picture with Rampage? That was cool. And he's like, what? Oh, he got a picture with Rampage. He's a fan. And he's like, oh, I was like, yeah, we have a podcast, poker. We talk about poker. He's like, oh,
Shout out to Calvin Anderson though. I mean, it went from you
yeah,
talking
no,
to
super
him
cool guy.
one
Yeah.
time to us. We were like by the 10K mixed game tournament or
Mhm.
something, and then he like you tapped him, we waved, and then he got up and came and talked to us. Like
Yeah,
just was like
yeah,
acknowledged us and had a conversation. And then we saw him in the hallways again, and he was giving it like that was super cool. Like for him to
yeah,
just be
yeah. Yeah, he
so
didn't have to do
down
that.
to
It was
earth.
really, really cool. And then, I even remembered that I hadn't played in like 8 years,
Yeah.
so I was like, that you have to do that.
No. He could have easily
So
just
it was
said,
nice to chop it up with him.
yeah, he could have just said, "Oh, these guys,
Yeah,
hey, nice seeing you again." And then he was like,
yeah,
Are you guys coming back for the main?" When he asked us that,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
just like, I
I
wish.
wish.
Yeah. You want to
yeah,
stake us? Like,
yeah. No,
no,
very cool
sick.
guy. So I appreciate him, and treating me like not just the fish that I was, you know. But that 10K that we saw him in, that was heavy hitters.
That was
That was everybody, right?
that was cool. Yeah. So Ice, I don't think you were with us at that time, but we walked up to this 10K, and they were doing a seat change, but it was so weird because they didn't go to another section. Everyone stood up, and then they all looked at their phone. They got their new assignments. So it was like
What's on the table? Yeah,
200 people playing musical chairs, but we're there and we're
yeah.
like, oh, Negranu, Deeb, Aria, Calvin Anderson, Matisal. And then
Ivy.
Matisal, who was it? You saw Helmuth like push Negranu, like, or something.
Yeah,
But it's so
yeah.
cool because it's just like, these are,
It was literally like the 25K fantasy league was just at that tournament.
yeah. And,
You had Wasserson, you had Kessler, you had Ivy, you had Shulman.
Was
Yeah.
that by the parish, like by the cash game sections, but on the other side towards the end?
no, this was
No.
in the main,
You went
like, the final table
Yeah, yeah.
sections. I don't,
Okay.
where were you? I don't even know where you were at. You're probably at the sports book. Let's be real. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just know it was me and Hector. But
No,
yeah,
I was there. It was like towards like the back wall, right?
He met up with us, but yeah.
not yeah. You were with
Yeah.
you met up, but not in that moment. You weren't with us.
Oh.
Yeah. He
And
met
that's
up
what
with us
helped
when
me.
we decided to watch the Deuce to 7 with Benyu, Negreanu, and Showman.
That's when you were with us. Yeah. That was a different
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
So this was another time then.
Yeah, I mean we've obviously gone to WSOP multiple times now. We've seen a lot of these players, multiple times, but it is always cool to see them again, right? Like I've always wanted to talk to Negreanu. I got 30 seconds to talk to him. He kind of brushed me off at first, and then he saw my shirt and was like, "Hey, thanks, buddy."
Yeah,
So
he knows your name, man.
yeah. So hey, I was gonna be like, "You follow me on Twitter," but cool guy. I mean, we're reminded that these.
Oski, right?
Yeah, Boski. That was a funny interaction. We're reminded that these are just regular guys when we sit down and talk to them, but it is cool to just sit in like the little arena and see Darren Elias play for his first bracelet and Nick Schulman play for his seventh at the time. So,
Yeah.
we're watching history
Heads up,
nonetheless,
too. We were part of that historic, what was it, 8 hour heads up?
Dude,
It was like
we watched that
we lasted like
12
half
hours
hour.
later.
Really,
No, like 7 hours later, they were still heads up. Like
yeah,
that was
yeah,
cool. That was cool. We just were in hour
yeah.
number 1 and we didn't know it. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about the Paris and Horseshoe setup, talked about how the daily deep stack is not it, it's absolute buns.
Hey,
Talked
we got
about
on the vlog. We got on
the
Daniel's
app.
vlog.
We did get
I'm
on the
sure we're
vlog.
on Poker Go.
We have to be. We were just sitting there. We were sitting
Yeah.
everywhere. We were sitting
Our,
everywhere.
our hats were definitely on there.
The hats were on there. Yep.
Yeah.
Overall attendance numbers looked good. I still think some of them are down year over year. I haven't looked to see that that's the case. But the main event will be telling, right? Especially coming up this week. I predicted that we're not gonna hit that number. I think we'll be under 10K, but still over 8,500. So. Any predictions from you guys now that we are out there and you got to see the crowds in Vegas? Any changes to your WSOP main event predictions?
I said lower, but like not by much. But I think I'll stick to that just because like WSOP was fine. Like it definitely felt like there were people there, but Vegas in general felt not that packed.
Yeah.
The most packed was probably when we went to Fremont, and it was that rally. But yeah, there was nothing else that felt like, oh, there's a lot of tourism here. So I don't think
So,
they're gonna have those extra numbers. So there's specifically going to WSOP for that. So yeah, I could see 8,500.
um, so you guys got there Monday. So, but the weekend it was really packed.
Yeah,
Obviously Vegas is a weekend town, so you're gonna see
But
like
keep in
triple the
mind,
people on the weekend.
you were there for Colossus weekend. Not every weekend is a
Yeah,
Colossus weekend too, though.
yeah. But it just like in general, because I stayed at the Virgin, that thing was packed too. So it was just like it's a weekend.
yeah,
You could tell on the rates too. It just goes like quadruples on the weekend. Um, I feel like it's going to be close. I feel like it's going to be a little bit more just because poker keeps growing. Um, and obviously, some of the events are a little bit down, but some of them are up. And then also, you have 100 bracelet events too. So just like people
99.
are going to choose.
99.
Yeah,
Because they took out the
yeah.
million. They took out the
They
millionaire
took,
maker. But we'll talk about that.
yeah. So like, there's a lot of options for people, and then obviously these other um casinos, poker rooms throwing their tournaments as well too. But as far as like the main event, I feel like it's gonna be more like it just keeps going. Like more people are getting into it, more celebrities are getting into it, more people with money are getting into it. So I feel like at that, like the balling status, like the 10K and up, I feel like there's not gonna be a big drop off. The drop off is gonna be on the $1,000 and less, because that's where the economy everything affects. The big ballers, they play poker, they're gonna get into the main.
Yeah, see, that's where I struggle because it's just like the high rollers scene's gonna stay the same. Like you said, they're not affected by the economy. But people save 12 months out of the year to play the 10K main event, or they go out there to play the
Yeah.
satellites. So, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be interesting. We've seen when we were leaving that they were running main event satellites already. They're running them pretty much all summer. So, that'll be really interesting. I hope it breaks last year's number. It gets close to it because that's good for poker. Um,
yeah.
I do
But you
think
saw
the
what
economy in
Mayo?
general will affect it. What happened?
So Tamayo won a seat. Like he satellited into the main.
Man, Tamayo.
And I'm like,
Guy wins the main event. He satellites. What a bum.
he satellited. Oh man, but yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, we're not seeing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not seeing that many satellites. Outside of where we were. Like, I don't see advertisements and
Yeah.
all that. So I know the WPT Gold. They probably have some stuff, but I haven't seen anything on like ACR. But
Yeah. Real quick shout out to all of the TikTok foodie people that had some good recommendations. We went to Palace Station to go to the Oyster Bar. It's open 24 hours. We just happened to go when they were cleaning. Apparently, their monthly cleaning. We went during the monthly cleaning. But the Palace Station, that was our first time there. This is the first time we had a car out there, so we kind of ventured off the strip more than we ever have, really.
it's still a win.
And it was still a win because we did our hard eight little craps bet, and very first roll it hits, so we all turned 25 to 250 instantly. So it was worth the drive. So we were all free rolling, and we went to it's like 2 in the morning. We go over to Durango, and we go to their oyster bar, which I heard is comparable, not as good, but comparable. And I think it was delicious. Maybe we were starving, but I thought it still hit the spot, and it was what I expected at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
It was good.
and then
it was a nice little 2 a.m. food.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, tacos El Gordo always hits. We tried some lengua tacos, which was interesting, but honestly good. Didn't just outside of consistency, tasted
Mhm.
like regular meat. And then I think the winner of the trip in terms of trying something new was Herbs and Rye, which was a steakhouse off the strip. You can get a
Mhm.
steak, a side, an appetizer for like $70, basically. Like I mean, I think we paid like $40 for a steak. Sides are about $15. We didn't do any cocktails, which is I guess is what they're really known for, but delicious. That was
Yeah.
delicious. So
I mean, you guys, the best food hands down was the pulled pork sandwich at the WSOP Paris for $18.
that's rough.
Sarcasm, by the way. Oh my
I felt
god,
bad. You're like, oh, I
straight
spent
trash.
$18 on this, and we're over here like at Resorts
Mm.
World after we just had some banging tacos, but I didn't feel too bad because
I have a
you're
little
running
FOMO, so
you're
I'm
running
glad I
deep.
got to go to Tacos del Gordo because that was definitely on the list. That
No,
and
no,
then
like I
obviously every time.
no, like I
But
told you, we were gonna make that happen for you regardless. I mean, we ended up doing 303 in the cut, which was a food truck. Honestly, it was all right. I wasn't really a huge fan of the sauces, their Kraken sauce, and then we ended up going to a barbecue spot right before we went onto the airport that's known in Vegas. So overall, food was solid. We did Wicked Spoon, which is always, a solid option for like a brunch. So, yeah, it was just nice to do some things off the strip, not go to these tourist traps, and kind of get our money's worth at the end of the day,
yeah,
and just go to casinos we never been to, like South Point and Red Rock and
Durango.
Durango, and we even went to Ellis Island, and got
Palace
the
Station.
the steak and eggs special. Even though we were 10 minutes late for it, the guy still hooked us up. So, very 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 cool. But just I guess to wrap up the this episode here, the Millionaire Maker, biggest storyline of this year's WSOP. For those of you that don't know, and we did a quick video on this earlier this week, but just to cover it really quickly, WSOP Millionaire Maker was heads up, and very blatantly, the chip lead gave chips to the guy that was in second place, thus turning what should have been the results of the tournament around. Now he's chip dumping. It was very obvious, and it's one thing to be chip dumping and be very obvious about it, but there was a lot to go behind that, and that's because the guy that ended up winning it all, Jesse, had a Club WPT Gold Rush ticket, which meant that if he won a WSOP event, he won a $1 million bonus from WPT. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this. I don't want to talk about, do you think there was chip dumping, because that's obvious. WPT has already came out and said they're going to pay that $1 million. What I want to talk about is WSOP's ruling, which is they are going to split the remaining prize pool, which is essentially they ended up getting their way, which was a chop, and there was no bracelet given out. There was no winner acknowledged, and there's rumors of a lifetime ban. WSOP didn't come out and say that, but supposedly the players have came out and said that through back channels. So there, with WSOP's ruling, what are your thoughts on WSOP's ruling on the Millionaire Maker results?
I'll let you go, Ice. Let me hear this.
So I'm mixed, but I feel like taking the bracelet away saves like the prestige of having a bracelet. So that was a good thing that WSOP did. Like just take away the bracelet, just because a guy really, you know, you don't deserve a bracelet if you chip dumping, right? Let's be honest. Um, but as far as like lifetime ban, it's $1 million extra. Like if I'm the guys, I would take the chance because what are the odds of you getting a chance to just, you basically lighting up $1 million on fire if you don't do this. So it for me, like if I had the choice, I'd do the same thing they did. Obviously, a bracelet would be, it's like the mecca of any poker player winning a bracelet, but at the same time, it's $1 million. So just like you value the money over the bracelet, I'm pretty sure 95% of the people will do that. Um, Lifetime bans, like it's hard to ban because it's like known cheaters that still play. So it's just like, how you really gonna ban them when there was people like um, doing this stuff online, like what do you call that, like chip dumping online and stuff like that, WSOP events, and they didn't give them lifetime ban. So it's just like, what do you like? Just because this was televised and they were getting scrutiny, that doesn't mean like they deserve lifetime bans. But honestly, like they did the right decision, take away the bracelet. They chopped the prize money, which they were going to do anyway. But I just feel like this was a win for Club WPT Go just because they get more marketing, more advertising. Like, hey, you know, they won $1 million. Come play with us. You get a Go Rush ticket. You could win $1 million. And it's just like kind of like, making fun of WSOP. Like, hey, there's cheating going on, but we're still going to pay. So that's my thoughts on it. They did a good ruling by taking away the bracelet, but overall, like, what are you going to do? It's $1 million. Like, it's every tournament is chops. So if you want to say the prestige, just tell them like, hey, going forward, if anybody wants to chop, there's no bracelet involved. That's just a rule they have to come up going forward. Like, you guys want to chop, there's no bracelet. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hector, what are your
I like,
thoughts?
I like that. I mean, pretty much everything I was gonna say. So, yeah, you don't have a clear winner. Take away the bracelet. There's no like if you chopping, you didn't win, and that's it. Kudos to WPT for being a man of their word, so to speak. By paying them the million. So I give it to them. Lifetime ban, but making an extra million. I mean, I guess I would take that. I could play poker anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just WSOP that has a problem with it. But overall, my main issue with the chip dumping is how far did it go? You know what I mean? Like if it was something they talked about at heads up, then I'm cool with it. But if they talked at the final table, you know what I mean? Then now they're colluding and getting other people out and helping each other so that they can chip dump at the end. You know what I mean? That's where I think you deserve the lifetime ban. Now we'll never know that, you know, but that would be that's my thought process on it. That you affected other people's payouts because you had whatever backdoor channel.
Yeah, no, I'm good with them not giving out a bracelet because there is a lot of prestige involved with the WSOP, right? Like
Yeah.
blatant chip dumping took place during their tournament. They have to
Yep.
protect their image, and the prestige of these tournaments is a bracelet, right? Like when you talk Negranu, Helmuth, Ivy, you associate them with the number of bracelets. So the fact that they took the bracelet away, they're protecting their prestige
Mhm.
of the events. So I'm 100% okay with that. I'm good with them chopping the rest of the money because let's be real. those guys were gonna chop it anyway behind the scenes, and so they just said we'll do it for you. I'm heavily against the lifetime bans though. I don't like the lifetime ban stuff. If they have definitive proof that they were colluding prior to being heads up, then okay, because it's no longer chip dumping to one person. You're now potentially taking out this other guy. But unless they have hardcore proof, you can't prove that. And even one guy
Yeah.
that was at the final table said, I didn't sense any sort of colluding. Pay those guys the money,
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, I think it was just fine. I
Yeah.
think the lifetime ban thing is a lot. But in the grand scheme of things, like I said, hey, if you're telling me I can secure an extra 500, 600,000, and maybe never play a WSOP event again. Listen, the Venetian, they got a lot of good tournaments during the WSOP, right? Like, it's if they're gonna go that route, then that's fine. It's stupid, but you could play a lot more tournaments. 500K is life changing money, So that's where I
This
kind of
is a
sit on it.
different situation too, because this is the first time WPT is actually paying out a winner of a WSOP event. So
Second,
it's like
this is the second. This is the second time this summer. He's not the.
no,
He's
but this is like I
the
don't know
first time ever for the.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like for somebody like to know the person that's in second place, like your friend, and then also having the gold ticket as well too. Like, what are the odds of that? So it's just like
Yeah.
obviously like if you were to bet on something, it'd be like WSOP scandals or like you know like a 50 leg parlay to hit. It's like crazy, but it always happens on the WSOP.
Heck, I mean, can you imagine both of you guys, final
Yeah.
Tabby Millionaire Maker, and then finding yourselves heads up, and then Ice has got a golden ticket? Like
Yeah. That's a
it's
no-brainer.
crazy.
I'm not
I
even looking at my cards.
and I get it. I get that the chip dumping was going to look obvious at certain points. But I was texting you guys. I was watching this live. I was like, this is wild, because it was so obvious. But I guess it just needed to be obvious, at some point. I just wish they found another way to go about it, because it is somewhat of a stain on poker, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're someone that wants to get into poker and you don't really understand certain things like this, you're gonna be like, oh, these guys are cheating, and it's gonna take you some time to understand that they weren't cheating. They're making
But
a
how do you
they're
stop
making a
it?
financial
If you're
decision.
WSOP, how do you stop another company from from giving out money to one of your winners? Like
You can't.
you can't really, you can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is probably the best you could do.
And that was
Yeah,
the
it
best
came.
part of that, was that WPT's laughing. They're getting all this
Yeah.
publicity. They're like, yeah, we're gonna pay $1 million out to their tournament, our competitor, but this is a huge scandal that sits on their shoulders. They have to bear
Mhm.
all this responsibility,
Yeah.
and
They don't look good no matter what.
the WPT looks
WSOP
great
doesn't look
because
good
they're
no matter
like,
what.
yeah, we're gonna pay that guy out, and now people are gonna have even more loyalty to Club WPT Gold, because they're never gonna forget that they paid out regardless, while
Mhm.
WSOP, made people wait for days to do an investigation. Like, that does not
Yeah,
look good.
it came out on ESPN like one of the top headlines, like
Yeah.
WSOP like cheating or whatever. And Mariella texted, she sent me the article. I was like, it's cheating, but it's not cheating. Like
Yeah.
it's it's pretty much like chop, pretty much, but
Yeah.
it's hard to
All right.
explain it.
So if WSOP does allow chopping, are you chopping or are you going for the bracelet?
If the gold
Um,
ticket is there,
No, 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 no. Just in general, like they just like, hey, chopping is now allowed.
chopping is
what are you
now
talking
Like,
about?
allowed.
yeah,
Hold on,
like we're
start over.
it's just if you
Rephrase the
chop,
question.
there is no bracelet.
Start over. Start over. Say it again. Say it again.
So if WSOP changes it and now every tournament you can come to an agreement, but if you don't play it out, there is no bracelet. Like how many bracelets are we giving out anymore? You know what I mean?
So
Would you take the
they
money or
void the
would you take the
bracelet.
bracelet?
They void the bracelet for any bracelet events where a deal is made. Is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Would you? It's
yeah,
tough. I think it comes down to like the payouts, right? Like, if you're talking the Millionaire Maker, there was a couple $100,000 difference. Don't get me wrong, that's a big difference. But if we were talking 5 or 600,000 between first and second, I mean, I don't know. I mean, 200K is still a lot, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because how many other
Yeah, I
times
would.
are you going to be in a spot to win a bracelet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I'm already securing $1 million, I might say I'm going to go for it. You know, I mean, it's tough to say, but then 200K is 200K. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's tough to say.
yeah, I definitely consider it, especially like say like you're in fifth, right, and you do a chop and like the jumps are so big that
Yeah. Yeah.
initially you, for example, like say you win 100, right, but if you chop, you get 140, right? That's
Hmm.
40K difference. Like that 40K is still 40K,
I,
and then
Yeah.
obviously you got to put yourself in a situation where like, is it chip leader dominating? Do I have a chance, a realistic chance of coming back?
Yeah.
And then you can, if you do, then okay, no chop, you play it out. But if you don't, you might as well just take the 40K because
You
imagine
have 100.
you,
You have 100 bracelets. How many bracelets do you really think you're gonna give out if you can avoid like do chops? Maybe 20, 25, 80.
yeah, I don't
Like
nah,
know.
like what's the percentage
I
there?
mean, we know deals are made all the time, right? We know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
We know. So I would guess a third of their tournaments probably have deal making taking place. You know, maybe not for the bracelet, but I'm sure people are saying, "Hey, we're heads up." You know, let's both guarantee 200K of the remaining prize pool. I'm just giving an example, and then they play for the remaining 100K in the bracelet. You know, but like they're gonna make some sort of deal because if the thing is WSOP could have avoided this, right? If they just
Hmm.
allowed deals to be made, like that's what it comes down
Yep.
to. So, but it is tough when there is It's not just the prize pool; you've got the prestige of the bracelet too. So, what they need to do in the future is they need to allow deals to be facilitated, and what they need to say is if you're going to make a deal, we need to leave, let's say, 20% of the remaining price pool as well as the bracelet up for grabs, and you can split the rest of the
Yeah.
money. But you still need to play for a portion of the price pool and the bracelet, and the chip stacks stay the same, right? Because there needs to be
And
some
only in the
sort
final
of
table.
there needs to be
I
some
don't want
sort
to
of
see
incentive.
a
Yeah. And
47 person deal.
I say deal making at the WSOP can't be more than like 3 people or something. Because then, I mean, let's be real. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's important
Those
to
jumps are
protect the
huge.
game as well. But I don't want to be watching a stream and then everyone stands up and then you hear a 7-way chop on a bracelet event. I don't want to see that. Like that's gonna ruin
Mhm.
the WSOP. So I'd rather see deal making take place with like 3 people or less, and they're still playing for some money up top and the bracelet. Because let's be real, I won't watch any streams if they're not playing for a bracelet. I can care less for how much money they're playing because for that I'll just go watch high stakes poker. I want to see bracelet winners. So don't take the bracelet out of the equation is what I'm saying.
Okay. Keeping the prestige. I like it.
I mean that's
So
what we go there for the summer
no,
for,
I
right?
agree.
World
So
Series of Poker.
in that same vein of keeping the prestige, I previously stated that anything under what was it 500 doesn't deserve a bracelet. I think that was the
You
number,
need to make a strong declaration here, sir.
right? So after playing 12 hours in the $800 tournament for 4,400 players, I was mentally exhausted. And I would really hate that if I made it another day of 12 hours that I didn't get a bracelet. So the fact that the Colossus and the Gladiator and all of them have like 10, 20,000 entries, I absolutely believe that they deserve a bracelet. So
what
I
was the
recant my
Colossus like?
statement.
Like 5 days?
Something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I remember Tuesday was still going on. I was like,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, it was still going on while we were already on like tournament number 2 and 3.
we were at the NGM and Colossus is still going on.
Yeah. So I retract my statement. You can keep your bracelet.
I'm not gonna lie. The very first time you ever said that, I didn't say this, but I was low key hurt because when I played the 888, I played 12 hours that day, and then I came back for
Yeah.
a second day for like 10 minutes, and I remember how much of a grind that was. And granted, that falls outside of your threshold, but
Hmm.
$10, $800, it's a freaking grind. I mean,
Yeah.
you're grinding. You're sitting there for 12
12,
plus
12
hours.
hours. Yes.
It's a lot. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you
And
came out.
it's a lot of players to get through. It's a lot. I mean, yeah, even $100 tournament with 10,000 people. It's just a lot of people, and that amount of times. It deserves it.
Good.
You know, you know how many. I mean, how long did you guys play in the deep stack? You coolers everywhere.
Shit show. Never gonna play a deep stack again.
Mhm.
Forget that. I'm not playing that crap.
All right.
I'm gonna play some
Did any
2Q
of you guys do the
PLO.
bounty, or was that just me?
You did the bounty. You're the only one that did the bounty.
Oh,
I
I did
was
two.
thought maybe
I
I
was
did.
doing a day
why
2, I
you
think,
played.
and Cash was. I used to
I
spend
did.
Cash.
I did 2 no limit deep stacks and 1 PLO.
Perfect.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. The bounty, I couldn't get anything going. But that's probably the only thing I would have changed is maybe not do the bounty and taking more time to rest. Because after the bounty, I told you I was like, man, I'm like mentally done. I need a break. And by the time I was ready to play again, there was no tournament that was worth playing before that would end before my flight. So I think I should have took off that morning and then played like a night tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only thing for me. Oh, my other high, Buffalo. I got a hand pay at Buffalo at the Red Rock.
Oh,
Oh my God, how can I forget
mm,
it? Real quick. I have to say the story before we end this episode. We call my mom because Hector said I owe him $60 or something because he sat down
yeah.
waiting for me and he lost $60 at a slot machine. So I'm like, let's call my mom and find out what slot machines we need to go play. We call my mom.
Yeah.
She lists off a couple different slot machines and it was whatever.
Yeah.
We didn't really think much of it. We ate some wings at Red Rock and I just remember I walk away and I'm like, nah, I'll just sit here and play a Buffalo, right? Like
Yeah.
this will probably be the
Real
only
quick,
time
before we went to Vegas, I talked to your mom and I asked her for her slots strategy, and that's why we were calling your mom. But
Okay.
yeah, go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, when she picked up, she said, "I told Hector."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told Hector.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely like I saw this machine and I was like, I'm just gonna sit and this will probably be the only time I sit at a slot machine right now and it spoke to me. Probably
Yeah,
wasn't
the
gonna go
aura,
anywhere but a
it was
Buffalo
glowing.
because I heard it from 100 yards away yelling Buffalo. Uh and literally four spins later I uh, trigger something and long story short we had a little crowd going. I'm FaceTiming my mom, some ladies here breaking everything down for me. It was awesome. So I was able to make back what I had my buy-in from the 800, so that was cool. I think the only and I don't it's not necessarily a regret because the second day I ended up making day 2 of the MGM, but I did have my eyes set on playing the Venetian tournament, the Win big tournament. That's the only one where I was like, you know what, I should have just gotten into it. But again, kind of hard to have regrets because then I made day 2 of the MGM, right? So if I don't do that tournament, then I maybe bust out the Win by level 2. So who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but
As upset as I was, I didn't make day 2. I was very happy that we got to play golf.
that's true. We did play golf.
So
Shout out to what the heck is that place called?
Bali High.
Bali High. I almost called it Bahamar. That's in the Bahamas.
Yeah,
Bali
I
High.
got to hit a billboard, so that was nice.
Yep. Hector hit a billboard. I don't know. It was
We
like
got some
David Copperfield
popsicles.
on it or something. Who knows?
Oh, we almost
Um,
died. It was so hot.
it was so hot. But it
We'll play
was
golf in the summer, guys.
yeah, beautiful course. Glad we did it. Regardless,
Yeah,
one thing we
beautiful
can
course.
say that we went to Vegas and we've done. Would be down to do it again because I think it is important to kind of break up the walking through a casino 12 hours a day and finding something to do unless you have a secured plan. So I thought that was good to switch it up. So,
Yep.
yeah, definitely. But all right, we are pretty much at time for this episode. So, we'll see where the main event wraps up this week in terms of numbers. I think the first set of flights is tomorrow or Thursday. Um, and then we'll know by like Sunday or Monday how many buy-ins to the main event took place. So biggest tournament in the world. Excited to follow along. Any updates on the tournament Negreanu's in right now? I know he was like third in chips with 6 people left. Do we know where that's at?
Not sure. Let me
I'm gonna
check
pull it
on
up right
my.
now. Right now. We'll make another video about where we're at in terms of the WSOP Fantasy League we're in. 2 of us are pretty much completely out of it. I won't say who. Let's see. $2,500 mixed big
Oh,
bet right here.
he fourth place.
He busted fourth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Aaron Kupin and Marco Johnson are heads up right now for that tournament.
Jeez.
Okay. Damn. Was hoping Negreanu would take that one down. Oh, but hey, Negreanu has how
He's
many
killing it
final
this year.
tables this summer?
Yep. He's killing
5,
it.
maybe? I don't know. At least 4, right? So good for him. With a deuce to 7 final tabled. He final
The
tabled this
250.
one. He final tabled which one?
The 250, the super high roller.
He final tabled the 250 high roller.
Yeah.
And then I think he final tabled like a stud as well or something. So
Yeah,
Negreanu's
because
killing it.
he basically mint cashed that one and won over half a mil.
Nice.
I know nobody picked him, but has Madisal gotten close?
He's made I know he's at least made
Made
one
one final
fun.
table.
I know he's
Yeah.
made at least one, yeah. And I want to say it was like last week. Like so Matisal's had some deep runs. Whether or not he's been able to capitalize is a whole nother story. But yeah. But all right. All right, we're gonna wrap up this episode. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Hopefully we'll get something out to you guys next week. And yeah, we'll go from there, and we'll probably start recapping the main event really, really soon here. And we'll provide some updates on our fantasy standing. So outside of that, catch you later.
Peace.
I'm about to go level up. I cannot settle for nothing. I never been regular.